Okay, well, hello people. This is kind of awkward. My name is Icy, and today we're going to talk about WildStar, and this is not another episode of the Nexus Hub, so don't be surprised and don't be disappointed. This is actually a video that I really wanted to put out a long time ago, but I've never found the time to do it. I've had tons of notes and thoughts scribbled down on papers of sketchbook paper, which are meant for drawing, by the way, I know, but I instead decided to spend my summertime in Ukraine writing and pondering about WildStar very deeply, because it's a game that I'm personally excited of, and I've been trying to convince friends to follow the game and to be hyped about it, because there's a lot of great features about it, and there's just a lot of good things going on about WildStar right now that make you want to play the game when it comes out. So, but a lot of people are like, oh, the game's been delayed for not summer, but spring 2014, and they've had to go back to their beta feedback and rework some things, such as the quest system and all of that. But I'm like, it's okay. I respect that opinion. If you are easily disappointed by these things, I understand that perfectly, but you have to look at what WildStar is specifically and what it's going to be about and how it's going to be built and what are the features that are surrounding it. So to prove them wrong, basically I have listed 7 reasons why you guys should be playing WildStar when it comes out. So first of all, let's talk about WildStar briefly here. WildStar is a new name. It's a new title. We haven't heard about it. It's not part of a major franchise like Star Wars or Final Fantasy or Warcraft. And by the way, World of Warcraft is a direct continuation of the Iron Throne. We have the Elder Scrolls MMO that's coming out soon. EverQuest, which had a lot of expansions, it had its first game, and then we have EverQuest Next that's coming up. But then you look at WildStar, and you just think of a completely new MMO. It's not part of anything. It's part of its own universe, and it's the first game of, the story of WildStar. So that's that. It's a brand new IP. It's an MMO like no other, so it has its own story. It's not a continuation or a sequel or a game based off an original franchise. It's WildStar. It's just another MMO. It's new. It's sci-fi, but it's kind of like it has like this Ratchet and Clank feeling to it, and it just has new lore, aesthetics, and characters, right? So it's an original title, and it's being made by a developing company that we don't know much of. So Carbine Studios, which is the company making WildStar, has never made a game before. So this is going to be the first game, not just an MMO that they're making, but their very first game. So they're dumping a lot of money on their first ever project. How does it feel? How do you feel when you see a company do that? Like, stepping forward and getting into the gaming community with a major MMO. Like, MMOs are big projects. They're spendy. They take a lot of time to prepare. MMOs are massive video game titles, and they're hard to deal with because there's a lot of things that players complain about at MMOs, and you've got to balance these things out, and MMOs are constant living worlds. Unlike video game titles, major video game titles, most of them, I mean, MMOs have to be constantly updated, and with that in mind, you just have to think to yourself, wow, a company that is starting out with an MMO and a game like this it's amazing how they've decided to start making an MMO this massive. It can also be a positive and negative thing, the fact that, we have a new company making a new game, a new MMO that is not part of a franchise. People don't know what to expect, basically. So you don't know if it's going to be a great game or if it's going to be an amazing experience. But what's specifically positive about this point is the fact that it's a new story. It's a new world that you're discovering. WildStar is a brand new MMO. It's not part of any other universe. It's its own universe. So basically you're getting a new experience, right? Moving on. A few months back, it was announced that WildStar is going to have a subscription-based model. And that, of course, made the majority of people who had heard this piece of news utterly disappointed and just batshit insane. And that's only because most of these people are MMO veteran players who are simply sick of paying for monthly fees for MMOs that fail progressively through time. MMOs like the Terra Online or the Secret World or Star Wars: The Old Republic, you name it. And in fact, some MMOs have diverged from the subscription model because they were just afraid of getting angry players, and instead they decided to go with the microtransactions feature. And MMOs like Neverwinter who have done this have also failed, surprisingly, because they, for some reason, decided to put out pay-to-win items on their microtransaction store, which is never a good thing to do. Never do that. If you're going to put out microtransaction items, make them exclusively cosmetic. Never make them pay to win. Why should you pay monthly for WildStar, for this game specifically? Well, there is a reason behind paying a monthly fee. First of all, if you're paying $15 a month, that ensures that you're supporting the developers and the company that are making this game, right? So, of course, if you want to play the game, if you want to play an MMO subscription-based game, you have to buy the copy first, which is $60, right? You get the game. You get to try the game for 30 days for free. And then, after the first month, you start paying $15 a month, or maybe less or more, depending on the MMO. And why? Why do you pay this amount every month? Well, that's because MMOs are, as I've said before, constant living worlds, and they need to be updated by the developers. And so, how do you update a game without having any money, right? You need to pay your developers and your technical workers and your graphic designers and all of that. How are you going to pay them? How is the company paying them? Well, through your fees, they pay the people who work on the game to update the game. And if you want to see more updates and more patches of solid content, then the subscription-based model is going to ensure that you're going to get that, basically. And so a lot of free-to-play MMOs are just able to pull this out, to pull out big, solid content patches that are interesting and meaty and that feature completely new things and not just the same old thing again. And so, according to Carbine Studios, they're going to aim for monthly content updates, which is great because if you're paying each month $15 a month, then you're basically going to see content every month, at least with this game, right? So in other words, the subscription model ensures that the developers focus on game content instead of putting out cash shop items. Also, in terms of the subscription model, WildStar is going to be particularly interesting because you're going to have the option to either play the game for free, or pay the monthly fee. So there's going to be a new feature for the game called Cred, which it works out basically like EVE Online's Plex feature. You collect Cred, which is a unit or some sort of currency. You collect that currency to pay off the monthly subscription fee. So what's really positive about this is that Carbine Studios is giving you an option here. You don't just have to pay the game monthly. You can play for free. You can play the game enough to play it for free. And it's kind of a interesting debate because some people will say, well, that's not fair. If I don't have enough time to play the MMO to play for free, how is that just fair for us? Why should I not be playing it for free even if I don't have as much free time to play the game? Well, it's an interesting debate, and you could go really deep into that, but at least Carbine Studios is giving you an option here. you can either play the game enough for free, or you can pay it monthly, right? Reason number 3, WildStar is going to have a race/faction duality going on, and that, my people, is what I'm a huge fan of. I definitely enjoyed the rivalry between the Horde and the Alliance. That definitely made World of Warcraft what it was, about the conflicts between the two factions. And we're going to see that again in WildStar Online between the Exiles and the Dominion, because these two factions are actually fighting each other for the control of one planet, for its resources or for its potential. It's going to be pretty interesting, and I personally don't understand why a lot of MMOs have deviated from the race/faction duality. Like in Terra Online, for example, you have about 6 or 5 races that all cooperate with each other, and there is never a single instance where one race despises another. There is no example of that in the game. And throughout all of the time spent in Terra Online, you only fight these massive demons that are threatening the natural world and the cities of the Terra Online races, but you never see like some kind of conflict between maybe the Ellen and whatchamacallit, the Barack Obama. No, that's not funny. That was unfunny, definitely unfunny. But that's not the point right now. So I don't understand like why a lot of MMOs have never had like this race faction duality. It's so interesting. It makes the MMO environment so much spontaneous. Like there will be definitely instances where you will cooperate with races that you might necessarily don't like, or races that you actually favor. But sometimes you also have to fight them for some sort of environmental control, or like for deeper issues. That's what makes the history and the lore of the game much more interesting, and just the player like experience in general. I'm just really glad that WildStar Online is bringing that back, and maybe one day we'll see like people walking around the streets wearing like Dominion or Exile shirts, because I definitely remember seeing people wearing Horde and Alliance hoodies and maybe having like forum signatures, and I want to see that again in WildStar Online. It's going to make the community much more richer, and the lore of the game richer, and like it's just going to be so cool if Carbine Studios brings that back so well. Another feature which should make you very interested in the game is, of course, the player housing. Oh, that player housing, man. It's something that we've never seen in an MMO before, right? And it's something that we've actually thought of a long time ago, and a thing that we've demanded developing companies to put out, such as Blizzard Entertainment, who never put out the guild housing that we wanted in World of Warcraft and just went past it to make a shitty Pokemon minigame. We never needed that. We never ever needed that thing. And we should have had received the guild housing that we wanted. And it just makes so much more sense in an MMO environment to have the guild/player housing. Like, instead of just talking through to your guildmates through the guild chat, why not, have like a greater experience with your guildmates by directly talking to them face to face in the world of the MMO? Like, why not have like organized meetings for guilds in those guild houses? Like, it would have been very interesting to have that, and I don't understand why like Blizzard went past that thing. It doesn't cross my mind. Anywho, but I'm glad to hear that at least Carbine Studios is coming up with that, and they're starting out with the player housing. They haven't confirmed the guild housing yet, but so far they've said that each player will be able to build a house and have mini games for it. They can put the furniture anywhere they want within the house, so that's also cool. And I feel like the player housing in WildStar is going to give players something to do while they're not undertaking their main activities, such as raiding, questing, and all of that. And it also is going to make players feel like they're actually important and distinct from other players that they're playing with, right? So It's just another thing for players to do, and it makes a lot of sense in an MMO environment. Why not have like the character that you're playing have somewhere to live instead of going to inns constantly and going like some sort of a bar to rest? Why not have your own house? And to push players to build their houses, apparently the player housing is going to provide players with a bonus of 200 XP if they rest in their own house instead of at a local inn or something. I don't know. So, I have a question for you people. Have you ever played an MMO and felt like you weren't enjoying yourself for 30 or 40 or even 45% of the playtime spent? Because I definitely felt like that when I was playing World of Warcraft, and that was especially the case when I was farming ingredients for my professions. That was such a terrible experience. I had to go through that by listening to music because I couldn't just stand it. It was so dreadful trying to find one single rare herb by circling the same map around 50 times. I never liked professions in World of Warcraft. Like, they did help for raiding and for the economy, and, you know, it was interesting to see which professions did what, but in the end, it was never a great experience because it was just, you know, basically what you had to do is learn recipes and then just farm the same things that you need to make the items that you want. And thankfully in Guild Wars 2, they made that so much better, right? The profession system is, you know, more interesting and intuitive and spontaneous. But in World of Warcraft, it was just like, here, you have to learn this, that, and this to advance to the next ranking, and you have to get all these items, which some of them are kind of hard to find, to make this one item, which will be useless once the new patch comes out. So that was just no. I did not like professions. And thankfully in WildStar Online, they're removing the professions system they're replacing that with something called paths, which is going to apparently customize the personal experience of the player. So in the path systems, we have 4 paths, and all these paths can be chosen by anyone. You don't have to have any prerequisites except for being level 8 or 10. I don't know. Maybe there are completely none, but there are 4 paths, and they are the scientist, the explorer, the settler, and the whatchamacallit? I don't remember. But each of those paths they correspond to the player's personality and gaming likes. So yeah, I remember what the 4th one was. It was the soldier. So let's say you like killing monsters and you like fighting and you enjoy the combat experience in MMO, then you would obviously pick the soldier path. And if you instead like to listen about the lore of the game, and if you want to know more about it, then you would pick the scientist path, right? I think Carbine Studios' aim for the path systems is to have players do whatever they want to do instead of having their guildmates telling them what they should be doing for raiding purposes, right? Because in World of Warcraft, it was always for raiding purposes. Like, oh, so you're going to do alchemy, and then this person should focus on enchanting, and then this other person is going to provide us all the gems for our armor, right? So, and that definitely didn't, make the experience enjoyable. And each path has its own benefits, but they don't outweigh each other. They're all on an equal level. So that's what I really appreciate about WildStar Online. Reason number 6. Now, according to Carbine Studios, the combat that's featured in WildStar is reportedly going to be freeform target-based and movement-oriented. Now, these 2 things alone are great things to hear because in my experience, after playing so many MMOs, I am sick of the same old staticky combat where you just literally stand at the same spot for 2 minutes when doing this one boss, and you just maybe push some extra keys if you're being targeted by the boss itself and if you need to survive, but you mainly, primarily use 4 to 5 keys to fight a boss, and you use some sort of very boring rotation, and it's just so dreadful, right? But in WildStar, the combat is going to be dynamic and spontaneous. And so with the movement factor, there's going to be a lot of action going on, and you're going to have to be aware of a lot of hazardous obstacles and attacks that might be coming for you, right? So you need to avoid a lot of stuff, and you can do that with the movement, and a lot of the skills and abilities for each classes are, can be cast and channeled while moving, which is a good thing, because we would like to see, as MMO players, we want to see combat that's dynamic and that is very action-packed, and we don't want to stand there or, have to move occasionally when necessary. We want to move all the time. We want to feel like there's some sort of dynamism within the combat, There has to be that action-packed feel for the combat. And it's nice that there's also going to be freeform targeting, because it means that the combat itself for WildStar is going to be skill-based. So when you're fighting monsters, you're not just going to have to right-click and push the same keys and find out which keys do the most damage and which rotation is the best, but you have to consider a lot of things that the monsters might do to you, and they could also unleash some really powerful attacks that you might have to avoid completely in order to survive. In World of Warcraft, for instance, most monsters don't do a massive amounts of damage. They do occasionally pop certain spells which dish out a lot of health from you, a lot of damage for you, on you. Wow, for you, on you. Wow, words. But in WildStar, it seems like the combat is going to be more challenging, and so you're going to want to be skilled in order to be successful at combat. You're going to have to avoid attacks. You're going to have to move a lot. You're going to have to target your abilities at the monster instead of just right clicking and being face to face with the monster. You have to know how to target and how to move. You've got to be skillful, and that's what the combat is going to be about in WildStar Online, and I really appreciate that. Also, speaking of combat, the mounts in WildStar Online are going to be called combat mounts, which means that the mounts in WildStar are going to affect the combat experience of the player. So mounts can be used for the purpose of combat, and they have utility traits to them. So maybe one mount will have increased movement speed for a certain duration, or can be tankier, can sustain more damage, take the damage for the player when being encountered by an enemy player. So that's definitely a plus for me. And my final reasoning for why people should be hyped up about WildStar is mainly because of how awesome its community is. Like, for a game that hasn't even come out yet, WildStar's community has been so established and solidified in a matter of weeks. And it's just overall impressive and wonderful. It's open-minded, friendly, and people are supporting each other's opinions. And in return, the developers from Carbine, who have been very engaged and passionate about their game from the very start of the development, have been very communicative with its community. And they've taken in mind a lot of people's opinions. They've been putting out information on the game in fan websites, website forums, and in Reddit, and all of these other social media platforms, maybe even Facebook, I don't even know. But WildStar, the developers of WildStar have been so considerate of the fans out there, and they've been retweeting fan art on their Twitter, and they've been, reporting the podcasts and articles that were put out for their various convention presentations, for New York Comic Con, for PAX Prime, and even, what's the other one? Eurogamer. And WildStar's community is great, and I don't see why that wouldn't make you want to play a game. The game. not a game, but the game, the MMO. So after hearing and experiencing and discovering an amazing community, I am definitely eager to play WildStar and be directly part of an amazing community like this. And I don't know, I feel like there's a lot of good chemistry going on between the fans and the developers, and I think I would honestly really like to see some sort of like a BlizzCon, like a Blizzard convention, but for Carbine. Like, wouldn't that be amazing for fans and developers to meet up in one single place and talk about all of the things they love in WildStar and to share the love of the game? I don't know. I just feel like that would be a great idea. But of course, it is too early to think about that as the game hasn't even been released yet. So I'm just really impressed by the development so far. I am not disappointed by the pushback on the release date. In fact, the main reason behind that is because the developers actually took in mind a lot of opinions from Reddit, from the threads, and even from the beta, from player feedback, that they wanted to implement some great ideas suggested from the players and the fans. I think they really wanted to put in some ideas, some suggestions, because I think they were already making a great game from the start, but with the ideas and the suggestions of the players, I think they wanted to make it even better and more unique and, more distinct from the other current MMOs and upcoming ones. So these were all the main reasons for why I'm mainly excited about WildStar to come out already. I really hope you're more interested in learning more about this game. If you're a veteran MMO player, I think that WildStar would provide you a unique and fresh player experience. If you're not a veteran player, if you're new to the whole MMO environment, then I think WildStar would introduce the MMO world to you well. But guys, thank you for watching this video, and I really want you to discover WildStar. It's a great looking MMO. I have very few negatives about it, but these are very minor flaws about the game. But otherwise, I can't wait. I can't wait for it. And that's it. That's all. Hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time, folks. Goodbye.